Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And now, namely, for a while it's been the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the summum bonum of existence. The pathway back to the spiritual world, where we don't have to suffer an eternal, not eternal, but a disease condition, life after life after life after life. But we can regain our spiritual nature, our spiritual body, our spiritual identity, our service, our eternal service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the purpose of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the way to get there is to hear the... So, Sanatana Goswami he appeared as a contemporary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and surrendered to the Lord completely. In the spiritual world, he's a Manjari, lost Manjari, and his eternal relationship with Krishna and with Srimati Radharani were awakened as soon as he met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was a big guy. He was a same as a chief minister or prime minister under the king of Bengal at that time, Nawab Hussain Shah. But he was a great devotee from always, and they lived in a place that had been transformed by their devotional service. And Lord Chaitanya went particularly to see them and to deliver them. And the first question from Srila Sanatana Goswami's mouth to Lord Chaitanya was, "Who am I?" Everyone's saying that I'm a great person, because materially he was, but he didn't know who he was. Therefore, that was his first question. And Sanatana Goswami Lord Chaitanya didn't tell him, "You're a Manjari," which he was, but he told him, "You're a servant of Krishna." And then from that moment on, he served consciously Lord Chaitanya and was able eventually to get the teachings 2 months straight from Lord Chaitanya. He didn't spend that much time instructing anyone. And he got the order to go to Vrindavan, execute the lost places of pilgrimage, and write books about devotional service so that we can know exactly what to do according to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by our great fortune, we have appeared on this earth, all of us, been born in this world only 500 years after these pastimes happened. Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami was there. And so we're hearing the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, just 11 persons removed from Srila Prabhupada. Only 11 persons removed from Lord Chaitanya himself. It's so close to the source. And it's such good fortune, maha bhagya, that it's our position. So we should be very thankful and we should be very grateful and continue to hear. And as Srila Prabhupada says again and again in his purports, there's no end to hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Even when you go through it once or twice or 3 times, we should go on hearing the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, again and again and again. And the more we do, the more happiness we get, the more purified we get, the more satisfaction we get, and the more knowledge we get, and how to go back to Godhead. Okay, with that, we'll hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from Srila Sanatana Goswami, the glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the summum bonum of life. And it goes like this. Sarvasashtabdi piyusha sarva vedaika satpala sarva siddhanta ratnaja sarva lokaika drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths. You are the only giver of sight to all the world. Bhagavatam. You are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who is supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguno Man Mahadana Man Nisdadaga Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Sadhu sadhu tadayin adini chochatakara anamun chagadachin mam premnarit gadayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So Bali Maharaj has been arrested by Vamanadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now the Lord is speaking to him directly. Chapter 22, Canto 8, beginning with text 28. Bali Maharaj has become the most famous among the demons and non-believers. For in spite of being bereft of all material opulences, he is fixed in his devotional service. Purport. In this verse, the words siddhan api na muyati are very important. A devotee is sometimes put into adversity while executing devotional service. In adversity, everyone laments and becomes grieved. But by the grace of the Lord, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a devotee, even in the worst condition, can understand that he is going through a severe examination by the Personality of Godhead. Bali Maharaj passed all such examinations, as explained in the following verses, 29 and 30. Although bereft of his riches, fallen from his original position, defeated and arrested by his enemies, rebuked and deserted by his relatives and friends, although suffering the pain of being bound, and although rebuked and cursed by his spiritual master, Bali Maharaj, being fixed in his vow, did not give up his truthfulness. It was certainly with pretension that I spoke about religious principles, but he did not give up religious principles, for he is true to his word. Hare Krishna. Purport. Bali Maharaj passed the severe test put before him by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is further proof of the Lord's mercy toward his devotee. The Supreme Personality of Godhead sometimes puts a devotee to severe tests that are almost unbearable. One could hardly even live under the conditions forced upon Bali Maharaj. That Bali Maharaj endured all these severe tests and austerities is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord certainly appreciates the devotee's forbearance, and it is recorded for the future glorification of the devotee. This was not an ordinary test. As described in this verse, hardly anyone could survive such a test. But for the future glorification of Bali Maharaj, one of the Mahajans, the Supreme Personality of Godhead not only tested him, but also gave him the strength to tolerate such adversity. The Lord is so kind to his devotee that when severely testing him, the Lord gives him the necessary strength to be tolerant and continue to remain a glorious devotee. Text 31. The Lord continued, "Because of his great tolerance, I have given him a place not obtainable even by the demigods. He will become king of the heavenly planets during the period of the Manu, known as Savarni." We heard about that in list, but we might not have grasped it, that this is actually the same Bali. Purport. This is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if the Lord takes away a devotee's material opulences, the Lord immediately offers him a position of which the demigods cannot even dream. There are many examples of this in the history of devotional service. One of them is the opulence of Sudama Vipra. Sudama Vipra suffered severe material scarcity, but he was not disturbed and did not deviate from devotional service. Thus he was ultimately given an exalted position by the mercy of Lord Krishna. Here the word Madashrayaha is very significant. Because the Lord wanted to give Bali Maharaj the exalted position of Indra, the demigods might naturally have been envious of him and might have fought to disturb his position. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Bali Maharaj that he would always remain under the Lord's protection. Madashrayaha. Text 32. Until Bali Maharaj achieves the position of King of Heaven, he shall live on the planet Sutala, which was made by Vishwakarma according to my order. Because it is especially protected by me, it is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali Maharaj, you may now go live there peacefully. Purport. Vishwakarma is the engineer or architect for the palatial buildings in the heavenly planets. Therefore, since he was engaged to construct the residential quarters of Bali Maharaj, the buildings and palaces on the planet Sutala must at least equal those in the heavenly planets. A further advantage of this place designed for Bali Maharaj was that he would not be disturbed by any outward calamity. Moreover, he would not be disturbed by mental or bodily miseries. These are all extraordinary features on the planet Sutala, where Bali Maharaj would live. In the Vedic literatures, we find descriptions. In the Vedic literatures, we find descriptions of many different planets, where there are many palaces, hundreds and thousands of times better than those of which we have experience on this planet Earth. When we speak of palaces, this naturally includes the idea of great cities and towns. Unfortunately, when modern scientists try to explore other planets, they see nothing but rocks and sands. Of course, they may go on their frivolous excursions, but the students of the Vedic literature will never believe them or give them credit for exploring other planets. Text 33. O Bali Maharaj, Indrasena, now you may go to the planet Sutala, which is desired even by the demigods. Live there peacefully, surrounded by your friends and relatives. All good fortune unto you. Purport. Bali Maharaj was transferred from the heavenly planet to the planet Sutala, which is hundreds of times better than heaven, as indicated by the words Swargibi Prarkyam. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead deprives his devotee of material opulences, this does not mean that the Lord puts him into poverty. Rather, the Lord promotes him to a higher position. The Supreme Personality of Godhead did not ask Bali Maharaj to separate from his family. Instead, the Lord allowed him to stay with his family members. Gyatibi parivartitaha. Text 34. On the planet Sutala, not even the predominating deities of other planets, what to speak of ordinary people, will be able to conquer you. As far as the demons are concerned, if they transgress your rule, my disc will kill them. Text 35. O great hero, I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects, along with your associates and paraphernalia. Moreover, you will always be able to see me there. 36. Because there you will see my supreme prowess, your materialistic ideas and anxieties that have arisen from your association with the demons and Danavas will immediately be vanquished. Purport. The Lord assured Bali Maharaj of all protection, and finally the Lord assured him of protection from the effects of bad association with the demons. Bali Maharaj certainly became an exalted devotee, but he was somewhat anxious because of his association, because his association was not purely devotional. The Supreme Personality of Godhead therefore assured him that his demoniac mentality would be annihilated. In other words, by the association of devotees, the demoniac mentality is vanquished. Sitam prasangan mamabhiryasam bido babanti rit karnarasayana kataha. Bhagavatam 3:25. When a demon associates with devotees engaged in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gradually becomes a pure devotee. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 22nd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Bali Maharaj Surrenders His Life. Another act finished of the supreme drama of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and it will never be taken away. It's gone into our hearts and will reside there forever as long as we want it to stay. It'll stay there, but it'll be manifest to us as long as we want it to be. Okay. Chapter 23. The demigods regain the heavenly planets. This chapter describes how Bali Maharaj, along with his grandfather Prahlad Maharaj, entered the planet Sutala, and how the Supreme Personality of Godhead allowed Indra to re-enter the heavenly planet. The great soul Bali Maharaj experienced that the highest gain in life is to attain devotional service under the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, in full surrender. Being fixed in this conclusion, his heart full of ecstatic devotion, and his eyes full of tears, he offered obeisances to the Personality of Godhead, just like a desire tree. Indeed, Prahlad Maharaj said that the Lord is kind not only to his devotees, but also to the demons. In this way, he described the unlimited causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, with full obeisances unto the Lord, and after circumambulating the Lord, he also entered the planet Sutala in accordance with the Lord's order. The Lord then ordered Shukracharya to describe Bali Maharaj's faults and discrepancies in executing the sacrificial ceremony. Shukracharya became free from fruitive actions by chanting the holy name of the Lord. And he explained how chanting can diminish all the faults of the conditioned soul. He then completed Bali Maharaja's sacrificial ceremony. All the great saintly persons accepted Lord Vamanadev as the benefactor of Lord Indra because he had returned Indra to his heavenly planet. They accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the maintainer of all the affairs of the universe. Being very happy, Indra, along with his associates, placed Vamanadev before him and re-entered the heavenly planet in their airplane. Having seen the wonderful activities of Lord Vishnu in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj, all the demigods, saintly persons, pitas, bhutas, and siddhas glorified the Lord again and again. The chapter concludes by saying that the most auspicious function of the conditioned soul is to chant and hear about the glorious activities of Lord Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Text 1. Shukadev Goswami said, when the Supreme, Ancient, Eternal Personality of Godhead had thus spoken to Bali Maharaj, who is universally accepted as a pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore a great soul, Bali Maharaj, his eyes filled with tears, his hands folded, and his voice faltering in devotional ecstasy, responded as follows. Text 2. Bali Maharaj said, "What a wonderful effect there is in even attempting to offer respectful obeisances to you. I merely endeavored to offer you obeisances, but nonetheless the attempt was as successful as those of pure devotees. The causeless mercy you have shown to me, a fallen demon, was never achieved even by the demigods or the leaders of the various planets." Purport. When Vamanadev appeared before Bali Maharaj immediately wanted to offer him respectful obeisances, but was unable to do so because of the presence of Shukracharya and other demoniac associates. The Lord is so merciful, however, that although Bali Maharaj did not actually offer obeisances, but only endeavored to do so within his mind, the Supreme Personality of Godhead blessed him with more mercy than even the demigods could ever expect. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhava Grahi Janardana because he takes only the essence of a devotee's attitude. If a devotee sincerely surrenders the Lord as the Supersoul, and everyone's heart immediately understands this. Thus, even though externally a devotee may not render full service, if he is internally sincere and serious, the Lord welcomes his service nonetheless. Thus the Lord is known as Bhava Grahi Janardana because he takes the essence of one's devotional mentality. Text 3. Shukadev Goswami continued. After speaking in this way, Bali Maharaj offered his obeisances, first to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, and then to Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Thus he was released from the bondage of the Nagapasha, the ropes of Varuna, and in full satisfaction he entered the planet known as Sutala. Text 4. Thus, having delivered the proprietorship of the heavenly planets to Indra, and having fulfilled the desire of Aditi, mother of the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead ruled the affairs of the universe. Text 5. When Prahlad Maharaj heard how Bali Maharaj, his grandson and descendant, had been released from bondage and had achieved the benediction of the Lord, he spoke as follows in a tone of greatly ecstatic devotion. Text 6. Prahlad Maharaj said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are universally worshipped. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship your lotus feet. Yet although you are such a great personality, you have kindly promised to protect us, the demons. I think that such kindness has never been achieved, even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, what to speak of other demigods or common people. Purport. The word Durgapala is significant. The word Durga means that which does not go very easily. Generally, Durga refers to a fort which one cannot very easily enter. Another meaning of Durga is difficulty, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead promised to protect Bali Maharaj and his associates from all dangers. He is addressed here as Durgapala, the Lord who gives protection from all miserable conditions. Text 27. O Supreme Shelter of everyone, great personalities like Brahma enjoy their perfection simply by tasting the honey of rendering service at your lotus feet. But as for us, who are all rogues and debauchees, born of an envious family of demons, how have we received your mercy? It has been possible only because your mercy is causeless. Text 8. O my Lord, your pastimes are all wonderfully performed by your inconceivable spiritual energy, and by her perverted reflection, the material energy. You have created all the universes. As the super soul of all living entities, you are aware of everything, and therefore you are certainly equal toward everyone. Nonetheless, you favor your devotees. This is not partiality, however, for your characteristic is just like that of a desire tree, which yields everything according to one's desire. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly equal toward all living entities, but a devotee who fully surrenders at the lotus feet of the Lord is different from a non-devotee. In other words, everyone can take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord to enjoy equal benedictions from the Lord, but non-devotees do not do so, and therefore they suffer the consequences created by the material energy. We can understand this fact by a simple example. The king or government is equal to all citizens. Therefore, if a citizen capable of receiving special favors from the government is offered such favors, this does not mean that the government is partial. One who knows how to receive favors from the authority can receive them, but one who does not neglects these favors and does not receive them. There are two classes of men, the demons and the demigods. The demigods are fully aware of the Supreme Lord's position, and therefore they are obedient to him. But even if the demons know about the supremacy of the Lord, they purposely defy his authority. Therefore, the Lord makes distinctions according to the mentality of the living being, but otherwise he is equal to everyone. Like a desire tree, The Lord fulfills the desires of one who takes shelter of Him. But one who does not take shelter is distinct from the surrendered soul. One who takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord is favored by the Lord, regardless of whether such a person is a demon or a demigod. Text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear son Prahlad, all good fortune unto you. For the time being, please go to the place known as Sutala, and there enjoy happiness with your grandson and your other relatives and friends." Text 10. The Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Prahlad Maharaj, "You shall be able to see me there in my usual feature, with conch shell, disc club, and lotus in my hand, because of your transcendental bliss. Due to always personally seeing me, you will have no further bondage to material activities." Purport. Karma bandha, the bondage of fruitive activities, entails the repetition of birth and death. One performs fruitive activities in such a way that he creates another body for his next life. As long as one is attached to fruitive activities, he must accept another material body. This repeated acceptance of material bodies is called samsara bandhana. To stop this, a devotee is advised to see the Supreme Lord constantly. The Kanishta Adhikari, or neophyte devotee, is therefore advised to visit the temple every day and see the form of the Lord regularly. Thus the neophyte devotee can be free from the bondage of fruitive activities. Texts 11 and 12. Srila Shukadeva Goswami said, accompanied by Bali Maharaj, my dear King Parikshit, Prahlad Maharaj, the master of all the chiefs of the demons, took the Supreme Lord's order on his head with folded hands. After saying yes to the Lord, circumambulating him, and offering him respectful obeisances, he entered the lower planetary system known as Sutala. Text 13. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, therefore addressed Shukracharya, who was sitting nearby in the midst of the assembly with the priests, Brahmahota, Udgata, and Advaryu. O Maharaj Parikshit, these priests were all Brahmavadis, followers of the Vedic principles for performing sacrifices. Text 14. O best of the Brahmanas, Shukracharya, please describe the fault or discrepancy in your disciple, Bali Maharaj, who engaged in performing sacrifices. The fault will be nullified when judged in the presence of qualified Brahmanas. Purport. When Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj had departed for the planet Sutala, Lord Vishnu asked Shukracharya what the fault was in Bali Maharaj for which Shukracharya had cursed him. It might be argued that since Bali Maharaj had now left the scene, how could his faults be judged? In reply to this, Lord Vishnu informed Shukracharya that there was no need for Bali Maharaj's presence, for his faults and discrepancies could be nullified if judged before the Brahmanas. As will be seen in the next verse, Bali Maharaj had no faults. Shukracharya had unnecessarily cursed him. Nonetheless, this was better for Bali Maharaj. Being cursed by Shukracharya, Bali Maharaj was deprived of all his possessions, with the result that the Supreme Personality of Godhead favored him for his strong faith in devotional service. Of course, a devotee is not required to engage in fruitive activities. As stated in the Shastra, Sarvar Hanam Achute Ja, Bhagavatam 4:31-14. By worshipping Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one satisfies everyone. Because Bali Maharaj had satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there were no discrepancies in his performance of sacrifices. Text 15. Shukracharya said, "My Lord, you are the enjoyer and lawgiver in all performance of sacrifice, and you are the Yajna Purusha, the person to whom all sacrifices are offered. If one is fully satisfied you, where is the chance of discrepancies or faults in his performances of sacrifice?" Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 5.29, the Lord says, "Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram." The Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, is the actual person to be satisfied by the performance of yagyas. The Vishnu Purana 3.8.9 says, "Varnashrama charavata purushena parakpuman Vishnur aradyate panta nanyat tat toshakaranam." All the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices are performed for the purpose of satisfying Lord Vishnu, the Yajna Purusha. The divisions of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, are all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu. To act according to this principle of the Varnashram institution is called Varnashamacharana. Varnashamacharana. In Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.2.13, Sutta Goswami says, "Atak pumbir dvijashreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha swanushtitasya dharmasya sangsitir haridoshanam." O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the Personality of Godhead. Everything is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, since Bali Maharaj had satisfied the Lord, he had no faults, and Shukracharya admitted that cursing him was not good. Text 16. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatyar Anyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Brihanaradiya Purana 38.126. In this age of Kali, it is extremely difficult to perform Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or sacrifices perfectly. Hardly anyone can chant the Vedic mantras with perfect pronunciation or accumulate the paraphernalia for Vedic performances. Therefore, the sacrifice recommended in this age is Sankirtan, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Instead of wasting time performing Vedic sacrifices, those who are intelligent, those who possess good brain substance, should take to the chanting of the Lord's holy name and thus perform sacrifice perfectly. I have seen that many religious leaders are addicted to performing yajnas and spending hundreds and thousands of rupees for imperfect sacrificial performances. This is a lesson for those who unnecessarily execute such imperfect sacrifices. We should take the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. Although Shukracharya was a strict Brahmana, addicted to ritualistic activities, he also admitted Nishchidram anusankirtanam taba. My Lord, constant chanting of the holy name of your Lordship makes everything perfect. In Kali Yuga, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot be performed as perfectly as before. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami has recommended that although one should take care to follow all the principles in every kind of spiritual activity, especially in worship of the deity, there is still a chance of discrepancies, and one should compensate for this by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore give special stress to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in all activities. Text 17. Lord Vishnu, I must nonetheless act in obedience to your order, because obeying your order is most auspicious and is the first duty of everyone. Text 18. Shukadeva Goswami continued, in this way, the most powerful Shukracharya accepted the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full respect. Along with the best brahmanas, he began to compensate for the discrepancies in the sacrifices performed by Bali Maharaj. Text 19. O King Parikshit, thus having taken all the land of Bali Maharaj by begging, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vamanadev, delivered to his brother Indra, all the land taken away by Indra's enemy, same mother Aditi. Text 20, 21. Lord Brahma, the master of King Daksha and all other Prajapatis, accompanied by all the demigods, the great saintly persons, the inhabitants of Pitriloka, the Manus, the Munis, and such leaders as Daksha, Bhrigu, and Angira, as well as Kartikeya and Lord Shiva, accepted Lord Vamanadev as the protector of everyone. He did this for the pleasure of Kashyapa Muni and his wife Aditi, and for the welfare of all the inhabitants of the universe, including their various leaders. Texts 22 and 23. O King Parikshit, Indra was considered the king of all the universes, the whole of universe. But the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, wanted Upendra, Lord Vamanadev, as the protector of the Vedas, the principles of religion, fame, opulence, auspiciousness, vows, elevation to the higher planetary system, and liberation. Thus they accepted Upendra, Lord Vamanadev, as the supreme master of everything. This decision made all living entities extremely happy. Text 24. Thereafter, along with all the leaders of the heavenly planets, Indra, the king of heaven, placed Lord Vamanadev before him, and with the approval of Lord Brahma, brought him to the heavenly planet in a celestial airplane. Text 25. Indra, king of heaven, being protected by the arms of Vamanadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus regained his rule of the three worlds and was reinstated in his own position, supremely opulent, fearless, and fully satisfied. Text 26 and 27. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Kartikeya, the great sage Bhrigu, other saintly persons, the inhabitants of Pitriloka, and all other living entities present, including the inhabitants of Siddhaloka, and living entities who travel in outer space by airplane, all glorified the uncommon activities of Lord Vamanadev. O King, while chanting about and glorifying the Lord, they returned to their respective heavenly planets. They also praised the position of Aditi. Text 28. O Maharaj Parikshit, pleasure of your dynasty, I have now described to you everything about the wonderful activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadev. Those who hear about this are certainly freed from all the results of sinful activities. Hare Krishna. Text 29. One who is subject to death cannot measure the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Trivikram, Lord Vishnu, any more than he can count the number of atoms on the entire planet Earth. No one, whether born already destined to take birth, is able to do this. This has been sung by the great sage Vishishta. Purport. Vishishta Muni has given a mantra about Lord Vishnu. Nati Vishnor Jayamano Najato Mahimna Padam Anantamapa. No one can estimate the extent of the uncommonly glorious activities of Lord Vishnu. Unfortunately, there are so-called scientists who are subject to death at every moment, but are trying to understand by speculation the wonderful creation of the cosmos. This is a foolish attempt. Long, long ago, Vishishta Muni said that no one in the past could measure the glories of the Lord, and that no one can do so in the future. One must simply be satisfied. One must simply be satisfied with seeing the glorious activities of the Supreme Lord's creation. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita 10:42, Vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekangshena stito jagat. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The material world consists of innumerable universes, each one full of innumerable planets, which are all considered to be products of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy. Yet this is only 1/4 of God's creation. The other 3/4 of creation constitute the spiritual world. Among the innumerable planets in only one universe, the so-called scientists cannot understand even the moon and Mars, but they try to defy the creation of the Supreme Lord and His uncommon energy. Such men have been described as crazy. Nunam pramatak kurute vikarma. Bhagavatam 5:5-4. Such crazy men unnecessarily waste time, energy, and money in attempting to defy the glorious activities of Urukrama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 30. If one hears about the uncommon activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His various incarnations, he is certainly elevated to the higher planetary systems or even brought back home, back to Godhead. Whenever the activities of Vamanadev are described in the course of a ritualistic ceremony, whether the ceremony be performed to please the demigods, to please one's forefathers in Pitruloka, or to celebrate a social event like a marriage, that ceremony should be understood to be extremely auspicious. Purport. There are 3 kinds of ceremonies, specifically ceremonies to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the demigods, those performed for social celebrations like marriages and birthdays, and those meant to please the forefathers like the Shraddha ceremony. In all these ceremonies, large amounts of money are spent for various activities. But here it is suggested that if along with this there is recitation of the wonderful activities of Vamanadev, certainly the ceremony will be carried out successfully and will be free of all discrepancies. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 8th canto, 23rd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled, The Demigods Regain the Heavenly Planet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we've got, I think, one more chapter to go, or is it two more chapters? We're almost done. One more chapter. Tomorrow we'll finish almost. Maybe we'll finish tomorrow. How many verses are there? Huh? 61. So within the next 2 days, we'll finish the 8th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Wow.
Pretty auspicious. Very auspicious. Okay, we'll stop here the reading for tonight, and we'll ask for open mic reflections, discussions, inquiry, whatever is your pleasure. And Pranahari isn't here to start it off, so somebody else has got to take up the... Yes, Sarva?
I appreciated the description of Krishna as Bhava Grahi Janardana.
Yeah.
That even if one cannot externally do service perfectly in every situation, if one in the core of their heart has the right attitude, and Krishna understands that.
There you go.
And appreciates.
Yeah. And also I think that along with that we should understand that attitudes change as was pointed out in association with the devotees. Then attitudes change. So even if the motive isn't perfect in the beginning, by the association of the devotees and devotional service and the Supreme Lord, that attitude changes, and therefore our attitudes have to change towards one another. And in Krishna, in other words, Krishna is showing the example, that he's equal to everyone, and if someone steps forward, then he steps forward to help that person.
Another point. A few chapters ago, regarding Bali Maharaja, it was said that one verse said, one should try to receive a good reputation instead of anything else. So this refers to a devotee having a wonderful reputation for being a Vaishnava.
Yes.
So I guess my question would be that there seems to be a danger of, before one is a pure devotee, of wanting name and fame that may not be totally pure. So how do we differentiate between fame that's good and fame that might be...
Well, the fame, according to Ramananda Roy, when questioned by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the fame of a person who is famous as a devotee is eternal. And therefore, if we remember in this pastime we just heard, the Lord himself said that Bali Maharaj has taken, the pain that he was given, the difficulty he was given, and he kept his faith intact, and therefore his fame will be eternal. So the fame of one who is pretending, his fame is not eternal. It flickers. It's not remembered as a great devotee forever. Of course, it's very rare to meet a devotee whose fame is, remembered forever. But that's the difference between a person who is famous just for, personal aggrandizement, and a person who is famous as a devotee, being blessed by the Lord and given that fame by the Lord. Whoops, you lost it again.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Jorge, Bhakta Jorge, Hare Krishna.
I was interested in knowing, there's many personalities that are very, very famous. We have our acharyas, we have, many different personalities in Bhagavatam, that we hear about. What qualifies one to be a Mahajan?
Mahajan is one who is especially favored by Krishna for doing something extraordinary. In this case, Bali Maharaj gave up everything in the presence of everyone that was dear to him. He just gave up everything. If you measure all of the Mahajans, you'll find that they have that quality. They've done something so extraordinary that the Lord gives him that, Bhishma. He laid on a bed of arrows for at least 18 days, maybe more, probably more, because he was the first to fall, the battle of Kurukshetra, then Dronacharya, and then Karna, and then like that, the whole came tumbling down, Kuru's army. And still, he was so knowledgeable. I don't remember how many chapters. There's 300 chapters. 300 chapters of the Mahabharata explaining what Bhishma Dev taught Yudhishthira after the battle of Kurukshetra. And he stayed, and he did that from a bed of arrows. So, if you analyze each one of the Mahajans, you'll see that they did something, extraordinarily wonderful and got, full blessings of the Lord. And it's not that the Mahajans are the only one that know about Krishna consciousness. There's so many devotees who know, but they are all followers of the Mahajans. So if you follow the Mahajans, you become Mahatma, and your example in teaching, become potent. And those persons who become famous and on that level, to that degree, there's famous people in the world, but 5,000 years? How about 2 billion years? How about 3 trillion years? How many people are getting that? That's what it means by eternal fame. We are thinking in terms of our small little world, or small lifespan, and we measure a millennium by 1,000 years. Right, the millennials, we call the millennials ones that were born, in 2000, because they're in the new millennium. But the millennium is really a life of Brahma. 311 trillion, 80 billion years.
Yeah, I guess because it got me to thinking that, Prabhupada was so great also, so why wouldn't he be considered a Mahajan?
He is.
He is. Wow.
Of course.
Jai.
We're sitting here reading these books, and these books will be heard. Now you can all bless me because I'm trying to read this book without mistakes as nicely as possible. As I'm reading every night, I'm trying to read it in the morning, record it for posterity so it can go out and for generations and generations to come. But everything in the material world, even the super soul is withdrawn. When the material world is withdrawn, even Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, he gets drawn into the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, gets drawn into the body of Mahavishnu at the end of the universe, at the actual end of the creation, until the next creation. So even the super soul is, in that sense, temporary, although he's an expansion of Mahavishnu, so therefore he's eternal. But his manifestation in the material world is not permanent. So it all has to be put into proper perspective, and how it's put into proper perspective is in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Nigamakapatator galitam palam sukumokad amrita dravya samyutam. Right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam it says that anyone who is free from envy and who is honest can hear the Bhagavatam and feel the presence or observe, perceive the presence of the Lord in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Therefore, there's many places, I've written about this in my last 4 offerings for Prabhupada over the last 4 years, 5 years actually, that if you purify your heart by hearing the holy name, then the next step is to hear the Bhagavatam. And if you do both simultaneously every day, then you go back to Godhead. Yeah. Simple as that, even though it may be inconceivable to us now. But we've seen so many devotees, even devotees who have gone away, who got taste, at the end they come back and they're blessed and they're come into the association of devotees and become uplifted and elevated by devotees surrounding them and chanting into their ears and making sure that they're going to remember Krishna whether they can or not, So Prabhupada says, Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Yogakshemam Mahamyaham. If your devotional service becomes unmotivated and you become attached to the form of the Lord and the name of the Lord and the Bhagavatam, then Yogakshemam Mahamyaham. Whatever you lack, the Lord preserves, and whatever you need, He provides. If you give yourself to Krishna, no matter who you are, He will take care of you. When was the last time you wondered when your next meal was coming from? There's so many millions and millions and millions of people now that don't know when the next meal is coming from. And they're working so hard and doing so many things, but the devotees, you just surrender to Krishna and try to preach His glories, and we have so much prasad, we can't eat it all. We're always saying, no, we can't have enough. The leaders are always saying, no, take more. Us poor sannyasis, no. We don't want to hurt their feelings, but we have to, So, the mercy of the Lord is measured in so many ways. That's a very simple way of measuring. But, yes, Shyam Kishore, please, reflect away. Oh, he's got it.
I really liked when it's talking about how by Krishna's mercy, by put into difficult situations, it takes away everything. But also Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he gives a really revolutionary view of actually facing adversity, that by His mercy we can tolerate whatever challenges we're experiencing in our life. So that's really inspiring to know that Krishna will put us into difficult situations, and but not only that, He will be there to also give us the mercy, so we can become elevated and actually come closer to Him.
Yes, so nice, very nice. Thank you, very nice,
inspiring.
Yes, and that's why the devotee is fearless. That's why the devotee is fearless, because he can perceive that protection, and that preserves the devotee's, elevation and the devotee's reputation as well.
Now, how can we build that unflinching faith? That
you build unflinching faith by pleasing your spiritual master and the deities and the devotees. You can't please everyone, especially in the Kali Yuga. But if you please your spiritual master and you please Krishna and the deity and you please the Vaishnavas who are elevated, then your success is guaranteed. And you can see what happens. Shukracharya. Is it okay? It's your turn to say what was the fault, why you cursed your disciple. what did he do wrong? And he said, actually, he didn't do anything wrong because he followed you. And then everything gets reconciled. Even the biggest mistake was Shukracharya's. He was the one that made the big mistake. But the Lord was there to even correct him, by asking him to talk in the assembly of all the Vaishnavas. So if you can open your heart to the point where you can, in the assembly of devotees, admit when you make a mistake, right? And not keep things in your heart about others, then this is how you get the mercy of the Lord. When you're in an open assembly. As a matter of fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that when you make offenses against the holy name, and there's 10 offenses, basic offenses, actually 11 according in attentiveness, but the way to counteract the offenses against the holy name, like for instance, if we blaspheme the scriptures or get into some philosophical deviation, then we go in front of the Vaishnavas in public and recant. We admit that I made a mistake, and we take the right truth in public, in the company, in the assembly of devotees, and that's what Vamanadev just did to Shukracharya. He asked him in the presence of everyone, even his followers and everyone, and he was able to get free from that. That defect, that mistake by recanting. So, you use your mouth to do something bad, then you use your mouth to rectify it, You do some physical thing wrong, you have to go to that person and, beg forgiveness. And if you're an actual Vaishnava, you'll forgive. And even if you do such a serious thing that the Vaishnava won't forgive, because it does happen sometimes, then you have to continue to, chase that, continue to serve and to, beg forgiveness until the person does forgive you. And if a person won't, then they're in trouble. That's described in the purport of Bhagavad Gita 9:30. Prabhupada says one who criticizes another Vaishnava for accidental fall downs, then they become worse than the person who's created who's done the accidental fall down. So therefore, the fact is that we have to be purified completely to be able to go back to Godhead. But the Lord is there, as you said, to help us. He puts us in these seemingly difficult situations that can't be overcome, and then he overcomes it. Helps us. He's right there to help us overcome. So he, sent, Bali down to Sutala, but it was a nicer place than Indra's, and then he decided to go there himself, and be his doorman and be there all the time for him. You see, in the spiritual world, Krishna's Leela is different in the spiritual world than it is in the material world. In the material world, when Krishna comes into the material world, he agrees in general, especially when he comes in the human form. When Matsya and Kurma and all these, that's not human form. He does just, everything he does is just like extraordinary. But when he comes in human form, Ramachandra, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, even Vamana, then he looks like an ordinary Brahmana. When he came in, everybody was just thinking he was an ordinary Brahmana. Only a few people could see that he was, the Lord. So therefore, when he comes in the material world, it looks like he has to go from one place to another. It looks like he's in time and space. He has to get on the airplane and get taken to, to heaven by Indra. But in the spiritual world, he's everywhere all at the same time without losing his personal identity. So everyone he'll be with everyone, and everyone is conscious that he's with him all the time. And even if he isn't for some time, then all that does is just increase the love more and more and more, and he's there. again soon. Like in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it describes that Krishna goes to Mathura because Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, they're eternally existing in the spiritual world. Whereas here, Dwarka was there during the pastime and the ocean came and whoop, finished. You know, but in the spiritual world, he lives in all those three places all the time. Still, it looks like in Vrindavan he goes to Mathura sometimes to kill Kamsa again and again. And because there's no time and space, every time he does that, it's like the first time he's done it. So it's different. The laws of nature are different. Everything's different in the spiritual world. So we try to understand it with our material while we're here in time and space. It's not possible. And if we try to explain those things based on what we think in terms of time and space, then we just get confused. So Prabhupada and Shastra recommend that we don't try to do that. Don't try to understand things that are beyond time and space while we're in time and space. But if we hear the Bhagavatam, which is beyond time and space, and agree to accept it, and that's it. That's how you get Krishna. You agree to accept. That's how you get unflinching faith. If you accept the manifestations of Krishna that are brought into this material world to help us be with Him, the holy name, the Bhagavatam, the deity, devotional service, especially Lord Chaitanya, the Harinam Sankirtan, then if we associate submissively, and that's the key, you get unflinching faith by submissively accepting these things. So submissively hearing, submissively accepting, submissively serving, submissively following the all these, look at the lovely instructions that are there in this pastime, Vamanadev. That's why it made such a big deal at the end. If you just hear this, then you'll be okay. You know, you're going to have a marriage, fine. Just hear this, and then you'll be okay, you know. Yes, Fernando.
I'm sorry. This class is just a little too advanced for me, but I'm trying to understand certain things, you know.
Well, you're not an ordinary person. You came in during this kind of level of discussion. It's pretty good for you. Good for you.
But it's very interesting. Is Krishna, the Krishna movement, or Krishna, the same as they say in the Upanishads, the fourth? Is that the same? Beyond time, beyond...
Yes.
Beyond matter and...
Yes. It's the fifth dimension.
Okay. All right. And yeah, because you were talking about beyond space and time, and even though I'm not well versed in a lot of the stuff that has been discussed, it just reminded me of that verse that I've read before on in the Upanishads.
Yes.
And it just struck me as like, is that the what?
Yeah, the Upanishads are, you know, appendices to the Vedas. The Upanishads are appendices that are put onto each one of the Vedas to take the Karmakanda section, which has to do with ritualistic formulas, which Shankaracharya was into, ritualistic formulas, the performance of Vedic sacrifices for the purpose of increasing our material situation, for improving our situation within the material world. That's karmakanda. You know, you're attached to the fruit, but you agree to follow the rules of the Vedic, sacrifice. But the Upanishads are appendices on them which take the understanding and introduce the understanding of the difference between matter and spirit, and do reveal the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they do it in a way that's not so easy to understand. For instance, they say the Supreme Absolute Truth has no hands, but he accepts anything that's offered to him. He has no legs, but he can run faster than anyone else. So a person who is an impersonalist will interpret that to be, he doesn't have any legs, he doesn't have anything, therefore he has no form. But they just don't take the whole thing, they just take what they want, and they leave the part that he can run faster than anyone. That means he must have a form that he can run faster than anyone. So the Upanishadic verses, and there are some that say directly about the form, but there's fewer and fewer and fewer verses in the Vedic compendium of knowledge which discuss the personal form of the Supreme Personality of God and the spiritual world, the dimension which is infinite dimensional. We're in 3 dimensions here, and the spiritual world is infinite dimensional.
Which is Krishna.
Yes.
And so, but we are, he is seeing, he is looking, like, or he is right now permanent, like.
He's in your heart. He's watching.
And I am just this personality that I am is not, it's just an illusion.
Temporary. It's real, but it's temporary.
Okay.
This is real.
Yes.
Somebody hits you, it hurts, and you break your arm and it breaks. So it's real, but it's temporary. You will only stay here for 100 years at the most, or maybe a couple more by the so-called scientific method.
So when I fully find this out in my heart,
Why aren't you giving it?
I'm sorry.
This should be shared out to the world.
So when I find out this wholeheartedly in me, is that realization or this?
When you find out wholeheartedly and you accept it, then what happens is aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. When you actually find out that there's a source of everything, and that source is personal, and that source is actually Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate, then you buddha bhava samanvitaha, you serve, you agree to serve, and then your natural service, where everyone's serving.
Yes, sir.
You're either forced to serve or you serve voluntarily, but everyone's serving Krishna.
Okay.
So if you agree to serve Krishna, and you agree to serve Krishna exclusively, then you get to the spiritual platform. Then from within the heart, tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Tesham satata yukta. Yuktanam means to act, to do. Yuktanam, to serve. Tesham satata. Satata means always. Those who, tesham satata yuktanam, engage. What? Engage in what? Bhajatam priti purvakam. Bhajatam means devotional service, and priti means with love, with affection, with attachment. Purvakam, completely, with nothing else. Then dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna says, dadami buddhi, I give, dadami means to give, buddhi, intelligence. How? What intelligence? Yenamam upayantite, how to come back to Him. You can't find out how to come back to Him from anyone else except Him.
Jai. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Welcome home. Yes, Dr. Doug.
There is one question, one reflection on here. From Katie Romaya.
Hey, Katie Romaya, Hare Krishna.
Her question is, Maharaj, which yuga took place in the time of the Kurukshetra war?
The beginning of Kali Yuga was just at the end of the Kurukshetra war, just before it ended. And then Krishna, very soon after that, he left. So technically it's when he left. But because he leaves the Kali Yuga to Lord Chaitanya, so he's considered to be, belonging to the Dwapara Yuga.
Okay. And then she has a reflection. I have also a reflection how important it is to keep the association of pure devotees in order for us to progress, and that if we associate with non-devotees, we would be holding ourselves, our bhakti and our potential, back in order to cater to them. Just as Bali Maharaj couldn't pay obeisances to Lord Vishnu, but he was still very merciful to him just because Bali Maharaj had the intention of offering the obeisances.
Yes, that goes to Sarva's point. Yes, that's right. Even if you can't do it perfectly, if you attend, if your intention is there, then Krishna accepts it. Yoga kshema bahamyaham. If there's something lacking, he makes up for it. And with that, it's 8 o'clock, and I'm going to try to, I couldn't, again, record this morning because my voice was kaput. But now, by the mercy of Ananga Manjari, she's giving me this kind of magic, elixir. And it seems to be working, so hopefully I'll be able to, and he's, Rasika Shrimani is going to be doing the, recording and eventually the editing, so he's practicing during these days when I haven't been able to record, so we'll be able to. Actually, I've calculated today, if we can do every day, 7 days a week, 23 pages, which is quite doable, we can finish the Madhya Lila by the time I leave for India. It's possible. Okay, Vamanadev ki jai. Bali Maharaj ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same place, same station, same time. 6:30.
All glories to His Holiness Bishop Bharati Das Goswami Maharaj.